The sound that started everything was a cheap bowl hitting tile and exploding into milk and silence, and a little girl on her knees whispering, "Just one spoon, please." He hasn't eaten in 3 days, and the stepmother with the red lipstick saying, "Not in my house," and hurling the formula like the kid was stealing gold instead of food. That's the picture I walked into, white pouring through big windows, milk dust floating in the air like confetti. At the worst party you can imagine, Lily clutching her baby brother, Noah, my own son, lips cracked from hunger, and me, Grant Mercer, the man who could close a $100 million deal but somehow missed the emergency in his own kitchen. Just standing there with my tie loose and my mouth open, you know what I mean. I didn't yell first, I froze first, then it hit me in the chest like a truck. I pulled both kids up, felt the heat pouring off Noah's skin, and told Vivian to pack her things and get out before my temper arrived. And she tried that old card. "Remember the lake, Grant, I saved your daughter." But I was already in the car, knuckles white on the wheel, praying the hospital could undo what my absence had done. Under fluorescent truth, Dr. Harper said the words you never want to hear about your children. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, bruising that didn't come from a crib, and I was out of answers, out of excuses, and somehow still standing, Rosa. The housekeeper was crying, saying she tried to speak, but got threatened, and Lily, God bless her, was whispering like she'd get punished for telling me where the formula was hidden, top shelf only opened when I was home. And if you've ever felt shame crawl up your throat and burn your eyes, yeah, that happened. I stepped into the hallway and called a number I hadn't dialed in years. Mason Reed, a PI who'd seen too much, and I said, "Check Lake Marigold, the day Lily almost drowned. Tell me if that rescue was real or staged, because I need to know if I married a lie." The next days were ugly in the most beautiful way, me learning how to be a father, like a rookie on day one spilling formula, getting milk. Spit back in my face, cutting apple slices like a blindfolded butcher, slipping a crooked sandwich into Lily's lunchbox, and watching her hands shake when she realized someone made something just for her, standing at the school fence as kids pointed and laughed because she tucked a piece of bread into her pocket. Out of habit, and a girl with pigtails slid a cookie to her and said, "Want one, my mom made too many," and that tiny kindness almost knocked me flat, you know what I mean? But when you pull the mask off a house, the darkness doesn't evaporate. It regroups, and Vivian didn't leave town with her pride. She found a bar and found Alex Dorn, an old partner I'd cut loose when he tried to sell me a cooked deal, the kind of man who smiles with his eyes closed. They decided the way to break me wasn't a balance sheet. It was the kids, and that's how shadows started appearing at my gate. Muddy footprints by the fence, late-night calls where no one talked, just breathed. Detective Cole parked a unit down the street and said, "We'll handle it, but any parent knows handling it never feels like enough, especially when your past mistakes are still echoing down the hallway." The storm came the night it all broke, rain hitting the house sideways. The wind shouldered the nursery window open, and two men slipped in like the weather hired them. One clamped a hand over Lily's mouth, while the other lifted Noah as if he weighed nothing. Rosa ran, slipped, hit a cabinet, and went dizzy, and the driver, an old friend, got tied to a chair in the garage with ropes that bit skin and a helplessness that bit deeper. My phone lit up Lily's number while I was still blocks away and rang in an empty room. When I turned into the driveway, the front door was open. The whole place looked ransacked by grief itself. Rosa grabbed my sleeve and said, "They took them," and I said, "No," so loud it felt like a physical thing. Then the unknown number buzzed and a voice like gravel said, 10 million, 48 hours, no cops, or you'll dig 2 small graves. Cole and his team brought maps and plans and patience, and I tried to sit still in a chair that suddenly felt like a trap, and across the river in a warehouse that smelled like rust and rain, my little girl did the bravest small thing. She pulled a hairpin and scratched a tiny symbol into the flaky plaster, where only someone who loved her would think to look. Then she held Noah tight and sang the lullaby from before. Our life fell apart, her voice shaking and still holding. I wish I could tell you I was the perfect student of restraint, but I lasted as long as a father can last, which is to say, not long. I grabbed a duffel of cash that felt like my veins walked out into that rain, with Detective Cole shouting, "Don't be stupid!" Mercer, and stepped into the warehouse where the light hung too high to help. I called her name and heard Dad from the corner, and if a word can split you open and heal you at the same time. That was it. Lily was tied to a beam, Noah in a rusted crib, and then Vivian came out from behind a column with mascara running and a knife shaking like her hand had forgotten how to believe in anything. "You really came," she smiled like a crack, "and you owe me everything." And Alex walked up with a gun like it belonged to him. "Put the bag down slow," he said, and I did, the cash thumping like a heart on the floor. Vivian pressed the blade to my daughter's throat and hissed, "One step and she bleeds." And it's strange how calm your mind can go when the worst is inches away. I lifted my hands, palms out, said, "Take me, take the money. But don't touch her." And Vivian laughed in the middle like humor broke its ankle. "Like you didn't touch me when you threw me out. You don't get to erase me." And I said, "What I should have said years earlier. You tried to own us. That's not love, that's a cage." Alex raised the gun to my chest like he was reading a number and said, "Ethics. Mercer, let's see what they weigh." And Lily, shaking and still brave, said, "Please don't hurt my dad." And I moved anyway, yeah. I did. The stupid holy thing. Stepped in front of my kid, felt the knife open my shoulder, like a zipper didn't stop, wrapped my body over hers, and stared down. A man who thought fear was currency. "You want to break me? You already did the day I forgot to stay home, but you don't get to finish the job." And then the sirens finally showed up in the air, door kicked wide. Cole's warning shot shattered a crate into splinters near Alex's hand. The gun clattered. The knife fell out of Vivian's empty purpose hands, yanked, cuffs flashed, and Lily shook in my arms while Noah hiccuped himself into quiet like even babies know when a storm is done. Court doesn't heal you. It verifies what you already knew. The judge read the list: kidnapping, extortion, child abuse, conspiracy, and gave them years that looked like a mirror and a lock. The press wanted a headline with hero in it, and I said the truest thing I had. I'm not a hero, I'm a father who remembered too late and then refused to forget again. The better story is a girl who carved a sign in a wall and kept singing. After that, the house changed its temperature. It went warm around the edges, Dr. Harper brought vitamins and a soft scolding. I learned to check fevers without panicking, to make lunches that didn't look like a geometry problem, to read stories in a voice that could sand down a rough day, Lily wrote in her diary. "You kept your promise, Dad. I won't be afraid again." And I stood in the doorway and blinked until the room stopped swimming. Healing turned out to be repetition on purpose, bike lessons, where she laughed at how nervous I was, a girl named Mia, slipping extra cookies into Lily's bag, just in case, Rosa humming to Noah and wiping a tear when no one was looking. Cole dropping off 2 bike helmets with a note that said, "Safety first, Mason," texting 2 words about Lake Marigold, staged, confirmed, and me feeling anger burn out like a match, leaving behind the clean cold of reality, which is somehow easier to live with than a pretty lie. 10 years slide by when you're doing the small things right. The trellis out front blooms red. Lily turns 18 and says she wants to publish her diary so other kids know the person hurting them won't always win. Noah chases a basketball through every hallway like Joy learned to dribble. Dr. Harper passes on her evening walk and says, "You look tired and happy, best diagnosis I've got." And I laugh because she's not wrong. But here's where I'll leave you, not with a bow, but with a question that still sits at our table. If you were me, would you have walked into that warehouse alone anyway? Or trusted the plan and waited? And if you were Lily, would you ever open a letter from prison and read an apology from Vivian, or are there lines that once crossed mean the door stays locked forever? And outside of our house, how many times have we all looked at a pretty front door and assumed the kitchen behind it wasn't holding a scene like the one that started this story? We talk about money like pain picks sides. It doesn't. It goes where the cracks are. You know what I mean? Tell me what hit you hardest. The spoon and the smash. The small kindness at the lunch table. The father finally saying, "I'm sorry," and meaning it. Or the moment sirens turned into mercy. Drop your take in the comments. Argue with me about mercy versus consequence, privacy versus a neighbor knocking to ask, "Are you okay?" And if you've lived something like this, say what you wish someone had done sooner. Share this with the one friend who always shows up, and if you want more real, messy, hopeful stories told like someone sitting at your kitchen table, hit subscribe. I read every word you write.